I don't want to call it a mid-tour check-in, but kind of feels like a middle part of this tour check-in.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. La 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 la. Oh, oh. Get me out of broken hearts and starting fights, turning truth to lies. Gotta get up, stop wasting time. Yeah, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be.
Welcome on back, everybody, to an actual episode of Sitting Down with Soul Writer. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references. So how's things going? We're doing a little bit of I don't want to call it a mid-tour check-in, but kind of feels like a middle part of this tour check-in. So how's the book tour going on so far? Some events are going way better than I could have ever hoped. Sci-Fi Valley Con in Altoona, PA. I literally almost sold out of pretty much all of my merch. There's been some hits. Wow, have there been some misses. And some events I'm really sad to see go 180 opposite from where I had hoped they would go. And that's okay too. I'm really learning to enjoy the moment for what it is with this book tour a lot. But more importantly, I'm getting to talk with a lot of cool people that I would have, of course, never met otherwise. And I keep getting a bunch of questions, and I kind of have the most common ones that have popped up that I've written down. Like if people asked in the course of a day or two the same questions, I kind of tracked them. So let's go ahead, and before we get started on the 8 questions I have lined up for us to cover, I really just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. This channel has really made me, and this business at large, has really made me continually question myself in good and in bad ways. As I was recently telling my critique partners for book 6, I experienced a lot of what I felt like negative pressure the last 3 years. And a lot of us authors feel that I'm always behind. Yes, comparison kills the joy of creativity and joy independently also take a hit, not just together in that statement. At the same time, sometimes negative pressure is how, coal goes to diamonds, stuff like that. You can get into those kind of analogies. I kind of needed the pressure a smidgen, or I probably wouldn't have done what I've done so far. So, 8 questions. Thank you. So, 8 questions. Number 1, what was the most surprising challenge you faced while writing your book? Is Frey going to actually listen? And some of you who are longtime readers and followers understand. He may have silvery blonde hair. He is my redheaded stepchild who loves to cause all the chaos on my boxed red hair dye's behalf. And I think the other thing would definitely be learning it's okay for me to be me. If you watch the Draw My Life video I did a while back, it gives you hints at how dark the childhood was, and I still face voices where I'm constantly told how what I do is not enough, put it that way. And that's why all the more I insist on reminding you all how much you matter. And to those of you who reminded me of that in reverse recently, I adore you. Yes, Loki. Question number 2, while we're getting the door for Loki here in a moment. Can you share a personal moment that inspired a scene or a character within the story? Actually, yeah. I have former students and friends who are quite aware that you are very careful what you say around Jenna, because as Chaucer from the movie A Knight's Tale says, I'll eviscerate you in fiction, and also add on a hefty dose of that, I will say that old adage of some things are so good in reality you just can't make them up, that applies. Also, otherwise, if we're going like specific people, places, things, all of season 2 takes place mostly in Maryland. So yeah, there's a lot of references of things that'll be in there, places that matter to me, obviously, but there's a collection of short stories about everybody's favorite humorous comedic relief side characters called The Winged Ones that recently came out in June, and the Winged Ones are based on real people, for those who don't know. Gorgor, Mardigan, Toos, Captain Five, and Bear are very important people. Not only, well, most of you know Baka. If you've been watching Write a TTRPG with us, you've met my co-author, and wow, has he given me a lot of good homework, and we're getting that document double the size than it was the last live episode already. He's the original lender of Toos. Now, of course, my Toos is not his Toos, but you see a lot of Baka's shenanigans in my version of Toos. We also have Gorgor. You all normally know Gorgor fairly well from the book 5s as well, because the caveat to me being allowed to use Gorgor was he had to get the girl and treat her like a princess. Harumi, you're going to be happy soon. Book 6 is going great. So definitely enjoying fulfilling that promise. Also, there's another character I don't talk about that often, who's definitely supremely inspirational. A high school friend of mine is who Maria is based on. She remembers the original story that I kind of deconstructed down into an original story from fan fiction, and she remembers the original tale. She was actively a friend in my life when I was writing it, and she recently reminded me that it's a good thing this story is out there, and Maria is in homage to her. And every time I write for Maria, I think about how integral that friendship was to my love of writing, because that's how the person who inspired Maria and I met, was through writing. And there's a couple of other friends that I have from another writing time in my life that have had their impacts, so I'm very grateful for them too. Question number 3 is going to ask us, if your book were made into a film, who would you envision as the ideal cast for the main characters? Okay, we're going to get some aesthetics going here. because I've known some of this from the beginning, and my character sketch artist, Sun Troa, Jeremy Green of Sun Troa Arts, he's still streaming on Twitch with the art, by the way. Check him in the description box below, especially if you need some art for the Kickstarters and things. He and I have argued over who should be portrayed and akin to whom as referential art. So you have Ian and Neftiri. They are definitely akin to in looks for the people that I gave him, but the couple I like to brag on the most is not them. If I had any say in the world, Orlando Bloom would be Bjorn. He's been an elf. He's been a fae. He's been a pirate. I bet he can handle being a Viking werewolf. Let's just get that very honest. And then, of course, I have often said that Charlotte Vessels, formerly of the band Delane, now totally rocking her solo career and inspiring me to be a masterpiece of my own making. Check her song Masterpiece if you're wondering what I'm talking about. She's Rochelle. And as a certain somebody once told me, pretty babies would come out of that coupling. Mind you, now she, years later, because I've been following her music career for a while, a couple years into me writing this, she gets a dog, and her dog's name, Legolas. I'm still giggling about that. The one that Jeremy and I argue over the most is Frey. I say Chris Hemsworth is the basis for Frey. Apparently a certain dude who's known as the Witcher, yeah, him, everybody's favorite Henry C, is where Jeremy leaned for the inspo, because, like, when I wrote the physical description of Frey, he's like, so basically he's the French vampire Witcher, ? And I'm like, yeah, but played by Chris Hemsworth, and he's like, no, it's gotta be Henry. And I'm like, no, it's gotta be Chris. And he's like, why? Because y'all know the all-female Ghostbuster movie no one talks about. Look at the character Chris Hemsworth played. He's Frey! That's my justification. I kid you not. Seeing him play that character is me going, yes, he can be everybody's favorite French vampire uncle. For reals. Okay, number 4. How did you arrive at the title of your books or book series, and what does it mean to you? So we're going to stick to books for this. Originally, book 1, book 2, 3, 4, and 5 did not have the same matching names. Originally, book 2 was called Oathbound. Originally, book 3 was called Vengeance of Mind. They are all in reference to symphonic metal songs. Bound by Fate and Blood is the one that started it. There is a song by the band Hammerfall called Bloodbound. Get it? If you listen to the song, you can see how it directly applies. So, no, I'm not going to sing it for you here on the tubes. Ask me to sing it in public and I might. Karaoke is a thing. So, yeah, kind of each of the titles up there have some sort of reference to a symphonic metal song, album, or something of that nature. Number 5, were there any specific themes or messages I aimed to explore in my book? Okay, so you're going to go to jennathesoulwriter.com and scroll down and read my About section, because if you're not into strong female leads, women's getting equal rights, all voices, and I mean all voices, America, in power getting recognized with representation, like you made me say every morning with the Pledge of Allegiance as a student and a teacher for over 2/3 of my life. Anyway, some of the people, if you just left the video, don't read my books. If you feel like maybe my books aren't for you now, you see why I'm like that. I am that 80s baby, 90s kid who literally was the only white person in her hood classroom. I know what both sides of the coin look like. I've been there as a bystander. I've seen it happen to some of my deeply, most closest, cherished friends. So yeah, if you can't handle literally a matriarchal democracy where people actually can get proper representation and human agenda doesn't matter half as much, you'll like my books. It's in my about section for a reason. Number six. What kind of research did I undertake? This is where it gets really fun for this to keep it intriguing. So those of you who know the deep lore of my books know that Neftiri's family lineage and the origins of magical immortals come from Ptolemaic ancient Egypt. The end of Egypt, true. However, there's a specific person in history that we're linking to here. If you want to check out Cleopatra, Portrait of a Unaliver, we'll call it that, YouTube, you will come across a documentary, and of course you can see why Ian is Scottish because of that documentary, in part because, yeah, that kind of slated some decisions with that couple. You'll find out how recent discoveries have led to finding the body of a female from the Ptolemy family buried in a little place called the Artemisia of Ephesus. It's in Turkey, okay? Yes, Rome and Greece stretched really far before, they too fell apart because they, too much butter, not enough bread. Anyway, Cleopatra had her siblings unalived to become queen. And one of them was her younger sister, Arsinoe. And the people would have preferred a certain younger sister over Cleopatra. Now, of course, there's the whole thing of, but the family tutor had corrupted the younger sister and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but what if in reality Arsinoe becomes the first full-blooded female vampire known to ever exist? That's what goes down in what I'll eventually call season 0, to make an anime reference there, and give you the prequel of how the war between Cleopatra and Arsinoe leads to the establishment of the Alliance, which is kind of where the tabletop RPG Baka and I are writing anyway, is picking up. And yeah, the research I've done into that family, cray. Whew, that's a mountain. That's a huge mountain. But I've also done so much research about Europe circa 1665 through 1700. Why? Because that's when we're picking up with Ian, the other side of the Ptolemy Sinclairs that you meet in book 6, and learning so much about Scottish political history, because even in the 1600s it was not kosher, was a mess. And it fed directly into the fact that at once upon a time, Rome and Greece did almost reach as far as England's, full island collection. So kind of playing on that tie between history, double checking the history. I'm looking forward to writing season 2 because it's been a little bit less research. Anyway, question number 7. How do you approach writing dialogue? And do you have any tips for creating authentic conversations? Just word vomit your dialogue and ignore your narration until the dialogue is out on the page. Sometimes it is natural for people to just lob a conversation back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Don't believe me? Pay attention to a group of teenagers sitting around any table anywhere together. Your readers won't care sometimes to get a ton of narration of who's doing what. It is okay to, especially when you've got like 3, 4, 5 or more people in a room talking, it is way okay as the narrator to kind of, whoomp, I'm now Wallflower. I'm just reporting the court reporting and giving you what I hear on my teletape, basically. You don't have much else room for that eventually if you have a really big ensemble cast, such, as a lot of us fantasy, romance, urban fantasy, paranormal people do. So, if you, number 8, could give one piece of advice to aspiring writers, what would it be? If you're wondering if it's too late to get started, then now is the perfect time to get started. Why wait any longer? Stop. The excuse in your brain is an excuse. That hurt. I accept that truth. More often than not, that there's a possibility that I'm making excuses just to fill the void of expecting failure to happen anyway. A little bit of truth here. I often tell myself it's okay for other people to shine, and I have to just watch and enjoy the show. Because if I were meant to shine, the spotlight would have already come my way. Now, mind you, my 3 oldest brothers' actual last name is Moses. And I often heard growing up, yeah, but you know what they say about Grandma Moses and us Moseses. We get to the top of the mountain when we're meant to get to the top of the mountain. And I could try to say here, yeah, but I'm their half sister. Therefore, that doesn't apply to me because that's, different dads applies. And if my brother George were standing right in front of me, nice excuse, sister. By the way, your backside looks good today because you got one of those too, honey. And I've had to be my own big brother in that regard lately. You get what I mean? Sometimes we have to be our own parent in that regard. We have to be our own sibling in that regard. So if you've got no one saying it to you, stop looking for reasons to not do what you've probably felt like you should have been doing years ago. It's called a call. It's probably knocking on the other side of a door, begging you to open it. And sometimes that door leads down a hallway and you eventually end up with a couple of other doors. Which one's the one still knocking out there the loudest? That's probably the good one, telling you, hey, you've mattered. Your work matters. And there is someone who is waiting to read your story. Because all of us, now more than ever, we've been worth it from the beginning.